Awesome. Thank you to all of those who are attending, and thank you to those of you watching the replay. I know a lot of people can't always make it at the time that I host it, which is why we have the replay. So this is Google Analytics. So I hope that's the webinar that you think that you're attending or that you think you're watching, because that is what you're attending / watching. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. There it is. Share screen. And get this party started. So this is, as I said, all about Google Analytics for your business. If it will let me do slide share. There we go. So Google Analytics, I will get into this in the next slide. Nope, previous slide. Google Analytics for your business is all about how to measure what's going on with your website, measure traffic, figure out how people are finding you, figure out what they're doing when they get to your website. It is a Google property, so it's free. That's the good news. But again, that does mean giving Google access to all of the data on your website, which, let's face it, Google has all that data anyway. It's just actually sharing it with you when you sign up Google Analytics. So you get access to all of that information, and you can use that information to make better business decisions, specifically better SEO decisions. So that being said, I'm going to get a little bit more into the why Google Analytics in a bit. First of all, I do want to talk a little bit about me, who I am, why you should listen to anything that I have to say. I know the two people in the room right now know who I am. But if you're watching the recording, you might not know anything about me, or maybe you know a little bit about me, but you don't know my history. So I am Allison Verhalen, your hostess for today. I majored in English and psychology, turned out to be the perfect degree for content marketing, had no clue content marketing was an option, thought I wanted to work in publishing, graduated in 2009, right after the job market crashed. So that wasn't going to happen. So I ended up answering phones for a few years, found myself between jobs at one point, and my roommate at the time, her dad, who was an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background, so he offered me the gig. And I was like, what? I can get paid to write? Seriously? Yeah, sign me up. So I jumped at that chance and started writing for him, and then for an associate of his, and then for some friends of mine. Did eventually get another day job, but I kept writing on the side, and it just kept growing till I could not handle both anymore. So quit the day job back end of 2014, I think it was, and I've been doing this full time ever since. And the more, I think if you had told me when I jumped into doing this full time that I would have to learn SEO in order to continue this as a career, I would have been too intimidated to even try, because SEO sounds very scary and full of numbers, and it is full of numbers. And don't consider myself a numbers person, but it is also a lot about the words, especially when it comes down to the content side of SEO. What keywords are you using? What keywords are people using to find you? What are they doing with when they get to your website? It really, SEO tells a story about what people are doing when they find you and how they're interacting with your website. And I found that story absolutely fascinating. So much to my surprise, I found myself completely sucked into the world of SEO, kind of fell down that rabbit hole, and I never really found my way back out. So one of my missions is to help other people understand that SEO is not really that scary, especially once you understand the basics. But a lot of people think it's super scary and they hide from it, and they just don't understand how it works. So the purpose of all of these webinars and everything that I do is to explain it to you in easy to understand terms so you don't have to be afraid of it anymore. So with that being said, we are going to get into Google Analytics. Why should you care about Google Analytics? So I use this picture with the bowling ball because if you are not measuring your website performance, if you're not looking at any of your metrics, you've got the website, you put up the images, you put up the content, hopefully you're blogging regularly, right? So you're doing stuff with it. Hopefully you're sharing it on social media and in your newsletter and all that good stuff. But if you don't see what the effect is, if you don't see who's coming to your website, how many people are coming to your website, what they're doing when they're there on your website. It's a lot like with the bowling ball, it's a lot like, rolling that bowling ball down the alley and then turning away and not even looking to see if you hit any pins. We're going to imagine that you can't hear them either in this world that I'm creating, right? So that if you do that and you hit all the pins, it looks really cool, but only if you hit all the pins. If you don't hit any pins and you just turn around and walk away, you don't look very cool. So I want to make sure that you're not bowling nothing and going straight into the gutter without realizing it. So that's the purpose of using Google Analytics. So first of all, I do want to, I forgot to set up a slide about this, but there's universal analytics. If you already have Google Analytics set up and you've had it set up for more than 6 months, let's say, you may or may not have Google Analytics 4. So there was Universal Analytics, and then there's Google Analytics 4, which is the new and improved Google Analytics, which has a lot of us have a love-hate relationship because that happens anytime they change anything, right? It's a new system, it's a new setup. We have to get used to a new way of doing things. But Google did officially transition everything from Universal Analytics to Google Analytics 4 as of July 1st of this year, 2023. So if you are still using Universal Analytics, you're not using Google Analytics because Google has discontinued that. It's not working anymore. You do need to actively go in and upgrade to Google Analytics 4 if you have not already done so. If you need help with that, it's super easy. Google Analytics 4 is still free. It doesn't change that much. You just go into your account and say, yes, move me over to Google Analytics 4, and it walks you through the process. Super easy. Same thing with creating your account. So if you don't yet have a Google Analytics account, I'm going to start by talking about how to do that. You go here, analytics.withgoogle.com, and you see there's at the very top, there's a button, create an account free of charge. In the middle, there's an account free of charge. If you scroll down, there's more accounts free of charge, right? There's more buttons saying create your account. So they really want you to create an account. They're not trying to make it hard. They make it super easy for you to create an account, and they lead you through the process. So I'm not going to spend any more time on that because I already set up my account. The one thing I'm going to tell you is to set up as much of your account as you possibly can, even if you're not using all of it. So like I set mine up with Google Ads. I wanted to make sure that was all integrated. I don't actually use Google Ads, at least not yet, but that is something that I've just for the sake of having my account fully set up so Google would stop yelling at me. I have it all, everything checked, all the boxes checked, all the information filled out so that it is as optimized as possible, and Google is happy. They've got all the information they need, and then I can go ahead and connect it to my website. Now, there are 3 main ways that you can connect it to your website. My favorite way, because, this is one thing that you are probably going to need depending on how you end up setting up your website. So you go to your account and you go to account details, and at the top there under basic settings, that is your account ID. So when you go to install a plugin, if you're using WordPress, if you go to use the navigation, the native integration, that's the word I was looking for, you're gonna need your account ID. So again, Google automatically gives you that once you set up your account. That's where you find it. So keep track of that number because now we got to set it up in your website. Like I said, plugins are my very favorite because I use WordPress. There are a ton of Google Analytics plugins that you can use that will, again, they walk you through the process of connecting it to Google Analytics. And once you install the plugin is connected to your website. So you just put in your account ID from Google Analytics, and the plugin will take care of the rest. The plugin I use is Exactmetrics. Don't ask me why I picked that one because I don't actually remember. It's one that I've had for a long time now, but I love it because when I go to the dashboard on my website, it shows me how many people have come to my website, what my bounce rate is, page views, as well as time on page. And it tells me with all of those metrics, if they've gone up or down or stayed roughly the same since the last time I checked in. So that is all good information to know. So that's scratching the surface of what you can do with Google Analytics, but I like that it's right there every time I log into my Google Analytics. Every time I log into my website, I don't even need to go to Google Analytics to get that information. I do need to go to Google Analytics to get more information, which I will talk about later. But for WordPress people, I recommend using a plugin to connect to Google Analytics because it's so easy. If you are not a WordPress person, you got to do the native integration, which is where you go usually to somewhere on your website. You can hit preferences, as this says, and there should be a section for Google Analytics. And again, Google Analytics account, that's where you put that number, that account ID that I was telling you about earlier. That's where that goes. And again, it's set up, it should take care of it for you. So it will run and connect everything and you don't have to worry about a thing. The trickier one is Google Tag Manager. This is where you have to get a piece of code. And again, this is it. You open up Google Tag Manager, you connect it to Google Analytics, and it gives you, go straight to Overview and install Google Tag Manager, and it gives you this code. So you have to install this code into your website, into the header of your website, as well as and you've got a different code for the body of your website, which is a little bit more complicated. So if the HTML is not a language you're familiar with, I recommend getting help with this part, because if you put it in the wrong place, you could really screw up your website. So talk to someone who does know websites and is familiar with HTML, so that it will take care of this for you. It is easy. Like I said, it gives you the code. All you have to do is copy and paste, but knowing where to paste is critical. So again, if you're not super familiar with that, heads up. All right, and that is it for the slideshow. So I'm gonna stop share, and then I am going to show y'all how Google Analytics works. So navigation, this is the report snapshot. So right, home, reports, explore, advertising. Again, if you want to do Google ads, that's where you go there. So everything you need is here. It's really just a matter of figuring out where you need to be. So for home, let's start with the overview. Again, users, new users, which I love that takes care of that for you. Knowing how many people coming to your website are new versus returning is critical. Users in the last 30 minutes. One, that was me. That was me looking at my website. You got your report snapshot, your setup assistant if you need help with that, account details. Google really does make it super easy to set everything up and connect it with everything. So I wouldn't worry about that aspect. They're not trying to make it complicated. I think they do a really good job of making it super easy. Users by country. So a quick shout out here for the GDPR, the Data Protection Privacy Act, which is over in Europe. And a lot of people in the US go, I'm in the US, I don't need to worry about European laws. This is why you need to worry about European laws, because I have some people visiting my site from Spain and from the United Kingdom. So keep in mind, the internet is the World Wide Web for a reason. It is all over the world. Yes, most of the people coming to my website are from the US, but I'm also getting people there from India and Canada and Bangladesh and China. And I don't know where all these people are coming from or how they're finding me, but that's the thing about the internet, isn't it? Is that it is global. So yes, you need to keep track of things like the GDPR, which I have a whole other article and everything about that. So I'm not going to get super into it right now, but that is why you need to care about what's happening with laws in other countries and global, not global laws, but what's happening else in the world with the internet and data, because it's global. My favorite, and I'll get into this a little bit more later, is the views by. So where are people visiting when they come to my website? Most of the time it's the basics. It's the home page, it's the contact us. Google Analytics, obviously, because I've got this webinar, so I'm sure people were going there to be like, wait, where am I going for this webinar again? My services page, my blog, the Art of SEO, which is my latest blog post that I just published, as well as the About Me page. And I can view pages and sources. And then this is my other favorite, is where are people coming from, right? So there's direct, as in they had a link to my website, they clicked the link and ended up on my website. So you can see that is the majority of how people are finding me, is direct links. Organic search, organic social, which means someone found me on social media and then from there made their way to my website, but without a direct link. And then referrals. So again, is there a link on another website that someone else had that they used to get to my website? So those are, again, this is just your snapshot. There's a lot more information here that you can dive into. And there's a Google Analytics app you can download if you want by scanning that QR code. So that is, if you are checking your analytics on the go, that is an option. So let's take a deeper look at your reports. So this you can see shows users, new users, average engagement time over the past month. Total revenue. I don't sell directly off my site, so it's totally makes sense for this to be 0. If you are selling directly off your site, again, this can be really handy for you to keep track of. Again, users, how they're finding you, where they're coming from, where in the world they're coming from. Australia, I had one view, that's pretty cool. User activity over time, is it going up? Is it going down? Obviously you always want it to go up. It can't go up indefinitely, but it is good to see that that's happening. I'm going to take you over to view pages and screens because I really love this. So I talk about this all the time as far as if you're going to republish a blog post, right? So for example, we've got Christmas coming up. I'm not going to be working over Christmas. I'm not going to be killing myself to make all the Christmas cookies and write a new blog post and do all of the client work and all of the things, right? That's just not a thing that's going to happen. So instead, I'm going to republish an existing blog post. So what I like to do is make sure that it's a blog post that still has traffic coming to it. Because if it's, and it's still relevant, obviously. The title will tell me if it's still relevant. If it's about, let's say, a Google algorithm update from 2022, that's not relevant anymore, and I doubt it's getting traffic anyway. But this is where I go to see if it's getting any traffic. So like I said, most of the traffic is coming to the landing pages. The home page is a big one, obviously, as well as my most recent blog posts, LinkedIn articles versus blog posts, and my one about the art of SEO, which is a book review. Rows per page, this is 10, that's the default. You can go 25, that shows you more. So when you've got, here are all of the pages, and here are the views for each of those pages. The users per page, so that is key. So for example, the home page here, I've got 76 views, but only 52 users. That means some people were viewing that page more than once, which I think is really important to identify the difference between users versus views. Yes, you want views to be high. Obviously, it's good if people are coming back to a page multiple times, but it also is important to keep track of, is that a whole lot of users, or is that one person clicking refresh on the page over and over and over for whatever reason, right? And then that does the math for you in the next column, views per user. So on average, it was a little more than 1 view per user, almost 1.5 views per user. Average time spent there, again, homepage and the webinar and the contact us, yeah, a few seconds makes sense. They were spending 1.5 minutes on my LinkedIn articles blog post, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes on how to define your brand voice. So you can see the longer content is getting, 13 minutes on the state of SEO that wow, that's a long time. So people say they don't read a lot. They don't read long blog posts. And here people are spending almost 15 minutes reading a long blog post. So that is why I say, yes, you need to invest in the longer blog posts. A, Google likes them. That improves your searchability. B, people who are interested in the content are going to keep reading, especially if you make it super engaging. They can easily spend 10, 15 minutes engaging with a piece of content without even realizing it. So keep that in mind. Event count, this is basically how many times someone came to view your website. Again, conversions, like I said, that doesn't do anything for me because I don't sell off my website. Same with revenue. So that is what we are looking at here as far as pages where people are. And then this shows you my top 5 pages, which again, home, webinar, contact, services, blog. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's what we're looking at here. Conversions. Like I said, I don't worry about this, but this is just, mine is blank for obvious reasons, but this is what it would look like if you are selling off of your website. This is where you would go to see, okay, how much money did I make by selling such and such off my website? Events, overview, pages and screens we already looked at, landing page. So these are not my blog post articles, these are just the landing pages. So again, homepage, webinars, contact, again, a lot of the same things that are getting traffic. So monetization, again, doesn't mean anything to me. You can see, as with most of your other reports, you've got your overview, which in my case, of course, is zeros all around. E-commerce purchases, I don't have an e-commerce website, but you can look at, items viewed by item name over time, items viewed and added to cart by item name. That is important to keep in mind if people are abandoning their carts. This is where you can go to see if people, how many items they are adding to their cart without checking out. Checkout journey. I always recommend that people keep track of their buyer journey. Where are they coming from? So again, that goes back to whether they're finding you via referral. Is it a direct link? Is it an organic search? If it is an organic search, what are they using there? What is the search term that they're using? So again, if you've got people, you've got the begin checkout, add shipping, add payment, purchase. If you have more here than you have over here in purchase, that is a problem. And it will show you then here the abandonment rate. So obviously, if you have, we all have a certain amount of abandonment rate in e-commerce. So I wouldn't say it has to be 0. But if it's unusually high, that's something you want to check in on. Maybe there's a step in there that doesn't need to be there, or some language in there that's super confusing, or you're adding too many fees and people go, nope, not interested, not this committed to buying this thing, I'm out. So these are things to keep track of. And then obviously if I made it all the way to step 4 purchase, there's no abandonment rate there. You can divide up your devices by category. And again, the buyer journey is all right there. In-app purchases, I think that's really cool. They add that again, if you have an app, you can also connect that to your Google Analytics and see how many people are buying via the app versus buying online on a desktop. Publisher ads. So again, if you're advertising products, are people buying directly from the ad, or are they more likely to take a different journey to find your products and actually buy them? Same with promotions. Retention is cool. How much are people actually sticking around? Again, new users, returning users. You always want a good mix here. Obviously, if no one is coming back to your website, that's not a great sign. That either means that your content is not engaging and it's not getting people back, or you're targeting the wrong people. You're getting people to your website, you've got great content, but they're not your target audience. Doesn't matter what you say, they're not going to be interested. So keep in mind how many users, new versus returning users you've got. You do want to attract new users, but you also want to retain as many users as you can. Cohort retention, engagement, are they actually engaging with the content, or are they just scanning it and then leaving? Those are and lifetime value. So again, this should be 0 for me because I don't sell off my website. But this is a really good way for you to keep track of how many clients you need, right? Or customers. If you are selling directly off of your website, if the lifetime value of a customer is a few $100s, great. If it's a few dozen dollars, then you need to get more people into your funnel. So this can be a really great way to look at the information and figure out what steps you need to take either to grow your business or keep your business strong based on the average lifetime value of a client. What did we look at? We looked at landing pages, pages and screens, and I think we can go over here to overview. I think we covered everything. click the wrong thing. Ads, again, I don't use Google Ads, so of course all of this is going to be blank. But if you do use Google Ads, this is where you would keep track of all of it. Obviously, conversions would be a really big one. Again, channels, where are they coming from? How are they finding you? And then conversions by channel. So that can help you find out which group or channel is really effective for your business and really having an effect on attracting and engaging those people and getting them to the next stage in the buyer journey to hopefully actually buying your stuff. And then if you are selling directly off your website, again, this is all for people who are selling directly off their website. So that is something to keep in mind. And then again, you will want to go back to your reports and that monetization and make sure that people are actually coming from your publisher ads, from those ads. And actually, you know, going all the way through the buyer journey, filling in the cart, there we go, checkout journey. You want to see if they're from the ad, are they beginning checkout from the ad? Are they checking out and then adding shipping? Are they abandoning before that point? Are they getting all the way to purchase? And again, how many people are you losing at each point? So yeah, so that is it. That is the basics. Actually, one thing I want to point out on the home page, let's see if I can go back to where the pages people are looking at. So when you go to view pages, this is a really great way because you can look at all of your pages at a glance. You can, I don't even know if I have 250 pages on my website. I might at this point. But you can scan through all of these and see if you have any 404 errors. So if you have a page that you had at one point and then either you deleted it, you moved it, you changed the URL without a redirect, when people click on that link, it would pop up as a 404, and then it's going to appear here under your pages and screens. So by looking through your pages and screens here, you can see A, if you have a 404 page that you didn't realize that you have, and B, if it's getting traffic, because surprise, surprise, it's not a great user experience to go to a website and think that you're going to get a great piece of content or potentially buy something and you have a 404 error pop up. That is a great way for people to just leave your site altogether. They may or may not find something else on your website. More likely than not, they're just going to go back to Google or whatever other website they were on before. So that is it. That is everything that I have to share with you. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, but I do want to thank you so much for joining me. To those of you who are watching the replay, thank you for watching. If you want to get a hold of me, ask me any questions about this, have me go over any of this in more depth, I would always love to do that because I could geek out about this stuff all day. So if you are not already aware of my contact information, that is info@AV, as in my initials, Allison Verhalen, avwritingservices.com. That is it. Have a great week and happy blogging, everyone.
Thanks so much, Allison.
You are very welcome. Do you have any other